You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
The wheel is turning and you can't slow down. You can't let go and you can't hold on. You can't go back.
Hello and welcome back into my wheelhouse. Today is August 6th. We are deep into the doldrums of NBA offseason. We're just scrapping for anything interesting. So we got a couple storylines to talk about. Maybe we're going to preview some stuff going on with the Eastern Conference.
Projections
divisional
feel good.
series.
Previews feel good.
Yeah, I agree.
Because teams are kind of settled now, right? When you say,
even though free agency is technically still active, all the players have really settled into their new homes. Uncle Mike, how was your weekend?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Had the Red Sox sweep over the Yankees. Big baseball fans. My family, me and my two daughters love the game.
Yeah, this is usually
Red Sox Nation was shocked this morning because I fell asleep last night. It was after midnight, and they were down 4-1 with Adonis Chapman coming in, and I fall asleep. And he walks the bases loaded.
Embarrassing.
Really. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I definitely find myself talking to friends who pay more attention to baseball than I do, so I get just I fall backwards into baseball conversations more than
you've been
usual.
to Fenway this year. That's more than me.
I've been to Fenway this year. That's right. That's not a normal.
That's a pilgrimage.
And before we get to the wheel, let's try to think. You see the Ron Artest changed his name back to Ron Artest?
Wow.
Yeah, big
I saw when we were looking up sneakers for what's going on. I saw the Ron Artest sneaker. I don't know whether that goes back to before World Peace.
The one with the panda?
Yeah, is that before World Peace?
That was before. No, that was after World Peace when the Panda's friend.
Okay.
The Panda's friend. That was when he played in China after his NBA career.
Okay.
A very silly guy.
So how about Will Be Free? Has he gone back to Lloyd Free? Is he still alive? I don't know if he's still alive.
I have
he
no
kind of started that whole thing.
That was a while ago. He did.
He's a great player.
He was above average for his time.
Will Be Free? He was pretty decent.
Yeah, above average for his
He was
time.
He was a scorer, kind of like Vinnie Johnson.
Yep. All right, so we got a couple things to go to. We'll see where we start. All right, we're going to start on some shoes. All right.
I didn't think this would be that interesting.
This really isn't normally that big of a headline, and formerly
free agents.
Yeah, formerly other than really high-level superstars in terms of the personality, not necessarily like when you're ranking best NBA players, but more so you're ranking which are the most marketable in comparison while pairing with who the best players are.
Yeah.
And that's who you often see get the most money. So obviously you're going to have your normal suspects with LeBron James and Kevin Durant garnering the most money from Nike, both respectively. LeBron recently last year signed a lifetime deal with Nike. The monetary amount, I'm sure, is upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't know.
You're also going to see personalities play into it, too.
Exactly.
And it's pointed out that Kawhi turned down a $22 million contract for Jordan's,
formerly.
But he's got a personality. He's wearing those black sneakers, and
right.
And yet, conversely, somebody like Nick Young he's out there. He's more marketable, and he's got things happening where
Nick Young,
Kawhi shies away from that kind of stuff.
Maybe Nick Young isn't the right example because his personality might come off as a little more volatile almost. So maybe But
I guess he's out there in commercials and stuff like that.
Kawhi is an interesting test
Kawhi
case for this
because
he is a sneaker free agent. He's going to bleed into this conversation, but he's a perfect just microcosm in terms of what the sneaker market versus actual NBA market, the differences that you'll see. Because, Kawhi Leonard, healthy, top 3, top 2, top 5 player. Even if he's not 100%, it's still likely that he's going to be a top 15, top 20-ish player to a degree. Right.
Easy.
Okay, but how about another player that's in a similar range but is commonly expected to be worse? Damian Lillard, right? Top 15 player, right? He makes hundreds of millions of more dollars on his shoe deals based off of his acumen and personality off the court and his ability to market himself.
So he's going to be in commercials. He's going to be on advertisements where Kawhi isn't even on. He doesn't even tweet.
Right. So Damian Lillard has his own line with Adidas, and he has some really interesting shoes. He's paired matching trends. He has Wakanda Forever matching Black Panther shoes that are black and purple. They're really awesome. So he's got a lot of cool shoes, and it's really interesting when you look at Kawhi, formerly with Jordan. You detailed how he declined their extension offer, which people were freaking out about, saying, only $40 million total over a couple years. But in reality, unless you're this high supernova personality pairing with being in a sellable market as well as being a high-level player, you're not going to get over $10 million a year offered for your contract in a shoe deal. So Lillard's making money. He tweets about or engages on social media where he's mentioning Adidas like hundreds of times in a year. And Kawhi didn't tweet once about Jordan in the past year. It's a perfect example of that. So I just wanted to get into it a little bit, talk on some people that have signed already.
One thing I found interesting about is just the background story on this is that for some reason it just didn't dawn on me, but it's very obvious why the NBA and sneakers, because the kids and everybody and yourself, you can wear those style sneakers.
Exactly.
Where in the NFL and hockey, you can't wear their skates, or their cleats, but you can actually wear LeBron sneakers or whatever it is, and that's what makes this such a big deal. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is how many sneaker companies there are out there that are trying. Go ahead, go with your stuff.
Exactly. So that exactly what you're about to say is formerly the NBA industry in terms of sneakers and in terms of the athletes of the highest profile usually was just Nike, Adidas, and then until recently, because of Steph Curry, Under Armour started on the scene. But even Under Armour, it's really just Stephen Curry. There's a couple other people like Dennis Smith is with Under Armour, and there's a couple other guys that don't really have signature shoes, but when an athlete isn't a high enough level to get a signature shoe, his own shoe, like a title shoe, they'll make new shoes and they say, hey, these are yours. We'll make a color line for you, but this is just called the Ultra Boost or something like that. You know what I mean? So that happens a lot. But what's interesting is moving forward, we're seeing companies that formerly, in the last several years, were not present in the NBA sneaker market. Most notably, Puma, who made waves. Who made waves signing rookies, draftees, Bagley, Ayton, and Michael Porter as well.
Okay.
And then recently, they signed Terry Rozier and Rudy Gay, some established NBA players already. And they've already been rumored to be thirsty in the hunt for a Kawhi Leonard when his sneaker free agency begins, which I believe was the beginning of August, is when they could start hashing out deals. But I think it's really interesting to really predict what type of trends and how they're coming out of nowhere. Formerly, the Pumas didn't have any sponsored athletes in the NBA. They had basketball shoes made in the 90s, but they ceased that altogether. So them coming back on the scene, I'm really excited to see what shoes they have. Skylar Diggins is a Puma athlete. So they already have that one.
I wonder if they'll do the Terry Rozier or
Scary Terry shoe.
I wonder if they will.
They should. I look forward to that. So I'm hoping that they land Kawhi Leonard because I could see, because of them trying to really emerge on the scene as a new brand that wants to be noticed, I could see them throwing a much higher price tag and willing to take a risk at Kawhi Leonard in a new situation where other companies like Nike and Adidas, who already have more of an established marketplace with already a player base that makes them enough money from the NBA already, that they wouldn't be willing to take as big of a risk.
They're thinking Rozier's going to surface somewhere else other than the Celtics and be a star? Is that what? Because it can't be because he's a 10th man on the Celtics.
But at the same time, I don't know. He's pretty goofy. You see him around him. Even in games that he doesn't play, you see him afterwards.
Even the way he's playing this right away.
It matters what he says. So some other players, I'm just going to run through some other players that are notable sneaker free agents, and their former sponsorships. So Gordon Hayward, Boston Celtics.
Look who's after them. That's really interesting.
Yep, formerly of Nike, and before that Peak, which was a Chinese brand.
Yeah.
He's been rumored to.
Those are Deli Ones of Peaks.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's been rumored to be in discussions or being pursued by New Balance. Shout out New Balance. I'm wearing New Balances right now. That's an interesting.
Did you get the connection?
That's an interesting pairing. The New Balance is based in Boston.
Their headquarters is right across the street from the Celtics' new facility.
And I think that New Balance has artwork and just signs and sponsorship signs all inside that Red Auerbach arena, that new practice facility.
Okay.
When you go through the visual tour of that place, there's New Balance splattered everywhere. So that's going to be really.
So the last player to wear New Balance is one of my favorite all-time players. And if my name wins, I'll tell you a story on him. If it lands on my name.
The last
player to wear is Matt Bonner.
Matt Bonner was
the last player to wear
funny.
New Balance.
Yeah.
And part of the story, I love Matt Bonner. He's a New Hampshire guy, so connected with my.
He's doing a good job commentating for the Spurs.
I think he's really good. Yeah, he stayed there. He's found a home there. Pop loves him. They love him down there. Is that when his deal ran out, he kept wearing them because he liked the sneakers. So he never changed.
They're comfortable. Why not?
Yeah.
So I'm
I don't
curious.
get the comfort thing on these things. They go by the cushion or.
What do you mean you don't get the comfort? Are your shoes comfortable or not?
Yeah. But I mean, I didn't even know you thought. I thought it was all style.
No. It's everything. It's everything. Performance mostly. So I'll be interested if Gordon Hayward does pair up with New Balance, what type of basketball modernized sneaker New Balance is willing to push out. Other big names, former Adidas players, Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, and Joel Embiid, all pretty marketable personalities, most notably, obviously, Embiid. We'll see where those guys go. I haven't heard anything on Wiggins or Oubre, but I wouldn't be surprised if Embiid was leaning Nike. D Wade just signed with Li Ning with a very large deal there. He's got a really good fan base over there in that market, and he's been with them for a while since leaving Converse. And then some other players that aren't as huge, but we got DeMarcus Cousins, Isaiah Thomas, and then Devin Booker, all with Nike, are up for new deals. So most deals, it's unusual how they plan it out so that your deal matches up after NBA free agency ends. So most of the time when you sign a sneaker contract, no matter what the years are, most deals run to the end of September. So and then you can start negotiating renegotiating your deal, or even if whatever your contract allows you to do. I think it's like up to 60 days until your contract ends with new companies. So I think right about now is when you're going to see rumors start coming out of where these places are going. And I don't know, it's just interesting to pay attention to. I think it's fun stuff. What's your favorite basketball shoe ever?
I don't. Ones I'm looking at. I was just looking up all these things. I was kind of liking the Adidas Linsanity brands. Those mid-range ones, those mid-sized ones. I kind of like those.
Right.
The ones I don't like are the ones like I saw like Javal. They're almost like clown shoes because their feet are too big, and I don't like those. I don't like the plastic ones at all. So, but I'm not a sneaker guy like you.
I love sneakers. I just picked up some red and black Questions, Allen Iverson's from Salvation Army. It was like $15. Great deal. But yeah, will just be interesting to pay attention to. All right, sports gambling. This is something that was made legal a couple months ago by
in May.
Supreme Court. So we're starting to see how that is going to ripple into professional sports.
Open the door.
Obviously, the NBA is trying to get into the sports gambling market as quickly as possible and as correctly as possible, I think is a good way to do it. So the first domino to fall is a partnership with the MGM Resorts. We saw them already partner with the Summer League and stuff like that. So they have a history together, the NBA and MGM. And MGM already had a sports book where you could go and bet on NBA games and stuff like that. But there's a lot of restrictions and limitations. This new sponsorship, which I believe is for 3 years, around $25 million, allows MGM to use logos, player likeness, highlights, and most significantly the NBA data feed, so that bets can be constantly updating and most accurate as possible. They'll be able to claim that they're the official gaming partner of the NBA, at least until more markets or more companies enter in.
One thing I found interesting about what you just said there is that the thing about supplying the data, I mean, bookies will survive forever.
Yes.
I mean, have you ever heard a story about a bookie going down or a bookie going out of business? Bookies always have made money. They've never needed that data, so that's not really it. That's not. Another thing that you touched on. Go ahead.
No, but don't you think that maybe it's not necessarily about trying to kick out the outdo the bookies or whatever and try to eliminate them? It's more so about you're going to be there with this data feed. They're going to be able to provide.
It's just that Las Vegas doesn't need the data, is what I'm saying.
But I'm saying it'll help.
I don't think it necessarily does.
Being able to put out more customizable bets and using this player spectrum data and other stuff like that sometimes, unless you pay heftily for it, even I don't have access to. I've had it before, but I don't re-up every year. But if you can make a bet. The plus minus of LeBron's pick and roll sets in the third quarter of a game. Like eventually, if that's where it leads, and someone can capitalize on that, that's a crazy market to exist.
Yes, it is. Another thing that I find, tracing the timeline a little bit, that it's only 10 years ago that the NFL actually refused an ad from Las Vegas for the Super Bowl, and quote, they said any association with gambling could ruin the game. That's only 10 years ago. Right. And so now you look at what's changed, and like Adam Silver says, it's a whole new world. And he looks at, and he's brilliant.
Stern had a similar stance on it too.
Huh?
David Stern thought similarly.
They did. That would ruin the game, and that's only 10 years ago. So now, so they always looked at a bookie, and I mean, bookies are kind of like in the dock, they're not really it's illegals and all that stuff. Yeah. But not, so what Silver says, and he's brilliant. We love Silver, and I continue to say, he looked at this with the other leagues that haven't. The other leagues were looking at something. He said he looks at it as an opportunity and not something to fear. No. So he's looking to step right in, and they're looking at their brand, like you said,
Right.
to push their brand forward. And in this new world that he's seeing, the NBA jumps in.
With it becoming legal and with overwhelmingly the popularity of gambling and
with the American public.
and the negative stigmata slowly deteriorating. It's becoming more and more.
It's
more
slowly
and more,
in terms of time, but rapidly in terms of pace.
Yes. It's becoming less and less looked down upon. Like 10 years ago, gambling was associated with these back alley type of a situation. No matter how accurate or not that was what you paralleled gambling to. Now it's progressed further, maybe with inklings here and there, with like FanDuel and with DraftKings and stuff like that, in fantasy sports. I think a lot of that are slowly hacking away at that image, that negative image. And now with it making it legal, that's just another door to open up for the NBA to be able to enter into. And Adam Silver absolutely knows that he has to capitalize now. He has to capitalize early and entering into this market. And 25 million looks big, but in reality, this is
over a number of years.
This is a pretty small partnership.
But he's also
it's a
looking
small
at
partnership.
But MGM is a small, so there's lots of other
He's
entities
gonna go
out there.
elsewhere.
And you start piggybacking.
Exactly. So
20 or
right
30
now,
of them.
if you try to project how
can
this
be a revenue source.
Exactly. If you try to project how this deal alone will affect, say, the NBA salary cap or something like that, it's not going to be that significant. It'll be something like, because every amount of money that's coming in annually, so that's what is it? $8 annually, $8.5 million annually. That gets split in half between owners and players, and then that gets divvied up, divided by 30 teams. So basically, this deal alone could potentially increase the salary cap by $400,000. Which, hey, maybe that's a mid-level exception to a D-League player or something. Yeah, it could make a difference.
Is that how it works? As the
somewhere.
NBA takes in revenue and increases the salary cap?
Yes.
That's really interesting.
So as more deals like this happen, that's where the revenue is going to matter, and the repercussions are going to be something you need to pay attention to.
It could be huge.
So this is a bellwether and could really be a trendsetter in terms of what not only the NBA but what other leagues choose to go after, what monetary amounts they give to each partnership they have, in terms of how positively or negatively that affects their revenue streams moving forward. I think it's great. I think that it's great that they were the first league to make a partnership.
Which is consistent with Silver
exactly.
and David Stern
I find
and the
it
NBA.
especially interesting that they did it first with their season further away than the NFL, who has so much more revenue and betting being put into the NFL than the NBA, and the NBA capitalized on it earlier. The NFL is still up in the air. I mean, people are still going to make money off betting off the NFL, but if the NFL was forward-thinking and willing to take a swing and make some money at it, it's there for them, and they haven't done it.
Then on MGM's side, they get the seal of approval of the NBA on gambling, and also I think that it's definitely that they're currying favor in terms of an NBA franchise in Las Vegas. That's got to be positive.
That's interesting. That's an interesting aspect. I haven't thought about that. I think
because that's on the table too, right?
It is. All right, we'll move on. There's not a ton to talk about that with that. I think we did a good job. That was good. I just wanted I put LeBron and Bronny in the same slice of pie. So would you rather talk about LeBron's off the court fantastic success, Bronny James 13-year-old?
LeBron coaching Bronny and Bronny.
Okay. So
we can talk about both.
Yeah, we can talk about both. I mean, they're both in the same thing. LeBron James and LeBron James Jr. Have been circulating social media videos these past couple weeks. Bronny has been getting a lot of hype. He's a 13-year-old, soon-to-be high schooler. He's going
I thought he was in the 7th grade. No,
I think he's 13, so I think he's about to go into
8th grade.
I think it's either 8th grade or 9th grade, but I think that the high school he declared for a private high school.
Yes.
He's like 5'7".
5'10".
5'10". Really grew.
That's
since
what
he
I
could mess up. Maybe he's 5'10". I wouldn't be surprised.
That's what I
dunked.
saw 5'10". Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 5'7" would be amazing. But 5'10" is.
But he's eligible depending on how when the NBA allows or removes the one and done rule. He's eligible sometime between 2024 and 2025. So that's when he's going to be eligible to be drafted to the NBA, hypothetically, if he makes it that far. He just won his second championship with his AAU team. LeBron loves that, and that's honestly the more that comes out about Bronny and his play with his team, the more it makes sense that might be something that was highlighted in LeBron's interest to go to LA, because he's getting to coach his son. Clearly, it's something that he cares about and he wants to do.
I'm going to predict.
Okay.
He's going to be a bust.
Bronny's a bust.
Well, Bronny's going to be a bust.
Okay, is he better? He's going to be better than Jeffrey,
Jordan Jr.?
Jeffrey. No, it wasn't Michael Jordan Jr. It was Jeffrey Jordan, right? Wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but it's along the same lines. There's just what I see in his game is he's got some really good, but it is a 7th grade game, so it's hard. I mean, I can be completely
It's hard,
wrong, but
yeah.
I'm looking at somebody that's got that high profile. What I see that he does is that he's a very good passer, excellent passer, a plus passer already. But and he's got a good IQ for the game, which would come from LeBron. But when you got that lineage from your father like that, I don't think you work as hard mentally to do whatever. And I think when I watch his game, it's all on that 7th grade level, and the openings he's seeing for his passes, he almost telegraphs what he's going to do. It's almost like it's there in front of him and he sees it. I don't know against tough competition whether that projects. He's good at getting players involved. I mean, he gets his other teammates involved. He's got limited moves right now in terms of the number of things he can do. What's in his bag of tricks? How many notches he's got on his karate belt, so to speak. He doesn't have a lot of that. It's more of a set shot than a jump. In some ways, a jump shot. He doesn't have a shot off the dribble, really.
I think he does.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't think he has a pull-up shot.
Right.
And then his on-ball defense, I think it really tells you that he's not working that hard because he's very upright and is up on.
He doesn't sit down much.
Yeah, he doesn't get into a stance and attack defensively. He's pretty good off the ball, looking for steals. He makes good things happen. But I think it's going to be very, very difficult for him to surface under the shadow of his father.
So I don't think that anything you just said, besides creating your own jump shot, maybe I think he's developed that a little bit more. But everything else, I think you said, is pretty much in line with the player that he is now.
Team, he's got the number 1 7th grader, that Mikey, whatever his name is, is the number 1 7th grader in the country. He's ranked number 10.
Right.
He's not even that great on his team.
No, it's interesting to think about, and I think when I'm betting on him to make it further down the line, I'm betting on his success based off the people that he's going to be surrounded by and based off of hopefully his desire to develop his own game. And the way that LeBron talks about his kid, he makes it seem like there is a drive there, and he's not trying to push him, and he doesn't want to put any pressure on him.
He's right there coaching him.
But he wants to be there, he wants to be around, he wants Bronny to be a sponge.
That's a push.
We see Bronny talking to Chris Paul after games and getting literally coached up by Chris Paul right after the game. And LeBron has access to infinite resources to help Bronny succeed to as much as possible. He already has offers to Duke and Kentucky and all the big blue buds in the college circuit. I think that because of his surroundings, because of his baseline skill that he has at such a young age already, I agree there's clear weaknesses that exist now, but that's fine.
I know,
He's 13. 13. And I think it's the stuff that he has developed already is exactly what you're saying. Is his vision looks awesome. His timing on passes looks awesome. His ability to get teammates involved is awesome. And I think
he finishes pretty well too.
Yeah, he doesn't do it. He doesn't take it to the hoop a ton, but he's an okay finisher.
Yeah.
And I think that his shooting for his age is really incredible, and if you think about
it's stationary shooting though.
Yeah, but he's very centered, and he doesn't get thrown off. He doesn't take off balance shots. He's even if his step backs, which he has already, he has a nice step back already. It's very.
I don't see it in the game, Phil. I'm not seeing a step.
I've only watched like 3 games. How many games have you watched? Like 2?
No, I'm just watching stuff like that. But I'm seeing practice sessions and stuff like that where he's practicing the step back, but he's not really.
I've seen it in games.
The other thing I would say is that I was 5'11" at 12.
Yeah.
So 5'10" at 13.
I don't know. I
don't think he's going to be 6'8".
I think your height in terms of
I know. I mean, look at your your brother Logan.
I think height and before you're fully developed is pretty irrelevant. He could be 6'10" in 3 years. Like,
but he could be 6'3", 6'4".
He could be. But he's profiling as a guard. He's a point guard right now. He's playing and he's building.
He's not playing point guard on his team.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
His play style is point guard right now, and the skills that he's trying to polish currently are point guard skills. So worst case scenario, he's a point guard, and those are skills that he's been working on his whole career. Best case scenario, he grows and he's 6'7", 6'8", and he's a swing who formerly had point guard training. You know what I mean? So I'm betting on his situation that it'll turn into success. I don't think that he's going to be some NBA superstar, but I think based off of who he is, based off name value, being LeBron James, either the best player or second best player, depending on what you think ever, that
Best
based
of
off
his
of him,
generation,
he's going to get a
breast
shot
right
down
now.
the line, and he's going to
Might
get
be a
help.
shot.
He's going to get help, and he's going to hopefully his desire matched with all of those elements is going to get him to the NBA. I'm predicting that he gets to the NBA, and I'm predicting that he's going to be an above average role player. That's my
I'm
prediction.
surprised-
Above average role player.
It might be normal for Duke and Kentucky to throw a lot out there for eighth graders because it's not really going to stick anyways. So that
all-
it
it's all
might not
verbal.
mean that much. But I would be surprised if that's where he surfaces at a Kentucky or a Duke.
I think that's. if you're
could
thinking
be
about it, that's-
mid-level or
a lot can change. We're talking.
Yes,
We're talking
yes,
4 years
yeah,
away from
yeah,
now.
yeah.
We're talking 4
so
years
next
away
year,
from
if
now.
he's 6'5" or whatever it is,
Right.
and everything changes. But
He doesn't need
it
to
is
grow
something
much. He
to it.
doesn't need to grow much. But one thing I will say is he isn't. He's quick, but he's not athletically dominant right now, which is interesting. It's something interesting to pay attention. Quick shout out to LeBron for starting the I Promise School. The stuff that's involved with that school is absolutely remarkable. Having
is.
free tuition, free lunch, free transportation within a certain limit. They have free opportunity, not free opportunities, but opportunities for families to get involved and get GEDs of their own. Free tuition to Akron University afterwards if they complete their schooling
I
there.
mean, he's already given lots out
Yes.
in terms of scholarships.
It's
to kids that
incredible
are already
stuff.
there, and it's good to see. And you would hope that across the board, those guys have got the ability to do that. When they look at where they came from, like LeBron is doing, that he's giving it back in a real way.
And we've seen players peppered in here and there with their involvement in schools. We've seen David Robinson. He has a school named after him that he helped start. It was already there, but he kind of like took the reins and made it into his own. We've seen Jalen Rose has the JRLA Academy in Detroit, which he has taken under his wing. It's a charter school, so it's a little different depending on what you think about those. But there's elements that have been experimented with previously, but because of his prominence in terms of the national spotlight and in terms of the basketball spotlight, I think that it's going to rub off on players more moving forward, and I think that you're going to see players work things in their hometown communities from the ground up to benefit, hopefully,
I'll
their
give you an
surroundings
example.
and give back to his
You
community
know, I'm a
that he
big
came
golf
from.
fan, and Bubba Watson. He's from rural, down south, towards maybe southeast. He is just going back to his hometown. He's actually moved back to his hometown, this little place. He wants to be there instead of where he was in the high-profile places. He has a home in his hometown, and he built a children's hospital.
That's awesome.
It really is.
I didn't know that's awesome.
And so that they've got the wherewithal to do it, as opposed to when you look back to my generation coming up, these guys all had jobs off season.
Yeah.
I mean, they drove taxi cabs. They worked on the road crew. The baseball players, Joe Morgan, would manage the Red Sox and then be on the road crew. Well, Walpole snow removal crew in the off season. You know,
it's a
but
crazy
these guys,
comparison.
it's just exponentially blown up when we talk about the sneaker contracts and you talk about everything that's happened as far as revenue. They're in a position that if they take care of themselves and they're not Marvin Bonds and Antoine Walker, right?
Right. No, I mean the social awareness of
They could be billionaires.
these players moving forward. They can be billionaires, and at the same time, they can help the communities that need it around them. I mean, LeBron's not only helping these a couple hundred kids that are going to be in his school over the next couple of years, but he's helping the other times 100 more families that are related to those kids, and he's basically affecting several generations of lineage, all because this is the community that he came from and he wants to give back to it. And I think that means a lot, and it's something that we should pay attention. He's already been mocking it up and showing it up on social media, trying to really prop it up, and he loves it. He's
He's really improved his fashion over the years. I really got
LeBron's fashion?
Yeah, he does. He's starting to look pretty sharp.
nice
I don't know
suit.
whether D Wade rubbed off on him or
D Wade's always been fashionable.
Yeah. But LeBron, he looks pretty good.
It's interesting. It's interesting too that he's also targeting people that kids that are struggling in certain academic areas, hopefully to put a more focus on them to hopefully make them thrive academically moving forward. Let's see what we got. All right, what do you want to talk about? And then I'm gonna commandeer it after you say what you want to talk about because I forgot to put something on the wheel that I want to talk about. But
Well, no, you can
you
do that if
first.
you want.
It's your name, so you're gonna say what
Well,
you want first.
when I was doing the sneakers and New Balance,
Yeah, what you got?
I was going to give you a Matt Bonner story. And it was like when I was pretty connected with a Manchester community, St. Anselm's College, and Steve Clifford was up there coaching, and Matt Bonner's father was a mailman and all this stuff. To make a long story short as I can, my friend Billy, who I was connected with, he used to do the radio broadcast. He could be on the Wheelhouse anytime. He's awesome on basketball. But he took me to where there was an All-Star game going, and Matt Bonner's playing, and he said, "Mike, all the coaches are going to be basketball. All the coaches are going to be there tonight." And you go there, and there's only about 100 people in the stands, not everybody, but you see every coach in the world there. Bobby Knight, Jim Boeheim, Mata from Notre Dame, down the list. And a sideline to the story is that they were all kissing his butt. So they were all going down, they're getting more, you're going to be on the Jumbotron. Me and Billy are sitting there watching this. There was one coach that would not do it, would not, just sat there stoically. He's the only one. That was Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
All right. The next day, Matt Bonner goes to high school. Dick Mata was there the night before, and Billy's his father was a good friend of Billy's, and his father tells him the story. He says, when I showed up at Dunkin' Donuts in the morning, Dick Mata was in his car when I came to the Dunkin' Donuts and I got my coffee. And then Matt Bonner goes, yeah, you know what else? When I show up in high school, Dick Mata walks into the high school, walks down the corridor, walks into his class, sticks his hand out and goes, Matt, it was really nice to see you. It just shows you where those coaches are coming from. It's pretty cool. But I love Matt Bonner, and he's really cool. And you're right, he's found a home in San Antonio. And his parents are down there now too, I believe. He took care of his parents
Shout out Matt Bonner, I agree. All right, so I didn't put it on the wheel, but
his brother played for Luke played for UMass, I believe.
Luke Bonner?
He was 7 feet. He didn't play much.
Never heard of him. All right, so over the weekend, Vegas over/under season win totals came out. So I just wanted to shout a couple out, and you can just say over and under. And to reiterate, something that's
absurd.
Something that's frequently forgotten about the NBA in terms of Vegas putting out win totals. It's not about what Vegas thinks these teams are going to win. It's about what they think will be bet on 50-50. So they're trying to put a number out there that they're hoping gets evenly bet out in terms of the money on under and the money on over, evening out so that they can make the most possible.
So as I said before, it's beyond data what these bookies are doing.
So it's
they're
interesting,
reading the betting public.
So this more so reflects how Vegas is using their analytic models.
You're sure you're not looking? You're sure you're not reading in this because they got the Lakers down so low?
No.
Is that?
No, the Lakers are normal. I think the Lakers are one of the better lines.
Well, they got the Lakers out of the playoffs, don't they?
No. So I think that these lines, so they more accurately reflect what Vegas perceives to be the general public's consensus thought process. So it's still something we should pay attention to.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do some. Do you think there will be any team with less than 23 wins next year? The three teams that are closest are the Hawks, who have the lowest total with 23.5.
Okay.
Which the next team? I wrote them down alphabetically. The Suns have 28.5. The Kings have 25.5. Those are the three lowest. And then like the Magic have like 30, and the Knicks have 29.
I think the Knicks could be there because the Knicks went 7-27 without Kristaps, and if he's not coming back from London, when you look at that roster and what actually is happening there, they could win a very low. But 23 is really low.
23 is really low. You don't have to try very hard to win 20 games in the NBA.
No.
And across history, if you look back, the teams that have won less than 20 games. The most recent ones are the Brooklyn Nets, which was the team trying to lose, essentially, and then literally trying to lose multiple times was that Philadelphia 76ers team, and they did it twice. So looking back over, I don't think a team drops below 20, but I think that
23, you said.
23, yeah. I do think that I just said that because that was what the closest over and under. I do think that there's going to be two teams that finish really close, and I would not be surprised if the Hawks and the Knicks, because I don't see Porzingis coming back until probably January or February, which means there will be 25-ish, 30 games left on the schedule. If they have a 500 record in those games, I'm still projecting them to have a pretty similar record to something like 7-30 when he's not there. Yeah. And then that's only enough for 20 or so games. So I think that the Knicks and the Hawks are going to have the worst record in the NBA, and I would put it right around 24 or 23 next year. Hometown Celtics are allotted at 57.5 wins. Over or under for that?
They're going to win more than 57.5.
I think so too.
I think that's a lock.
I think it's a lock too. Let's do some more interesting ones. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 30.5 wins.
That team, when we review the division, and we'll get to it stuff, that whole division's a question mark to me. And as I'm looking at Cleveland, I'm saying, I like them. I like the signing of Love, and they're making a statement going forward. I think that team might be better than you thought because it's not like George Hill's a bad player. It's not like Rodney Hood's a bad player. It's not even like Clarkson and Nance and Tristan Thompson are bad players. Those 6 guys, they actually make a lineup. They certainly compete better than the Knicks and
I mean, you could
and
make
the
you
Nets
could, you could
and,
make you
and
could make
Atlanta and Orlando and
yeah. I mean, you could make pretty good arguments that every player you just said stinks, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I think they were put in the worst light last year, those players, I think. I mean, Rodney Hood's he doesn't stink.
He doesn't stink as much as he stunk last year.
No,
but he stunk last year.
The environment they were put into in Cleveland made them look bad. They're better than that.
I think they are
George Hill
bound.
doesn't stink.
I do think that they are bound to outperform expectations, but
So they're
I
going
think
over
that
30.
those expectations are low. And I think that I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but I see them winning more than 30 games, probably something like 33. Moving around, they have the Warriors and the Rockets. These two are very interesting. The Warriors make sense, 62.5. I think right around there. Their win total all depends on their effort and how much they're willing to put into it. They can blast
injuries and bodies.
They can blast 62 if they want to, but I bet you because of their effort, injuries, and all their
What makes
involved
you say
elements.
that? I've never seen a lack of effort on that team. I
do. I see lackadaisical efforts.
Really, I've seen them Curry out. I've seen them, guys miss a lot of games, but I haven't seen them not. I don't know. It's normal.
Game in and game out to get through a season when you know you're the best team in the league after already winning 3 straight championships, motivating yourself when your coach is already saying to the media that it's hard to motivate these guys has to be a problem. I think that they're going to win more than 62, but I see why their line is around there. I would probably put them.
I mean,
I think I'm thinking like 65 for those guys.
And that's a big season.
Rockets, probably the most interesting line of all of the Vegas lines. They won 65 last year, right? Or even more.
68.
68.
Yep.
54.5 wins for the Houston Rockets.
That's very interesting. And when we talked about Cleveland a little bit, I think one of the key things to Cleveland would be if Houston wants J.R. Smith, get him there in a hurry. That's what I'm hearing.
They do want him. I mean, they've been rumored to
and
go
that even
after
pulls their wins down lower.
Right.
But
Houston is trying to make another move. Houston wants J.R. Smith. Houston wants Kent Bazemore. And Houston wants
Kent Bazemore. He's a good citizen.
Houston wants Nicholas Batum too. Those are the 3 guys that Houston's going
Batum's
after.
still injured,
right
I think. Whatever. But J.R. Smith is you got to get him out of Cleveland. You get him out of Cleveland, I like Cleveland's team a lot better as soon as J.R. Smith is gone.
You're not wrong. No more soup throwing. But we both agree that they're going to win
many other things.
They're going to win more than 54 games, correct?
Who? The
Rockets?
Rockets?
I don't think they're winning 60.
Yeah, I think 54 is fairly accurate. It might be 56, 57, but
I was going to
I'll go over. I don't think they're.
I think it's unfair based off of their previous season's success, based off of them retaining their strongest 3 players, and still having a coach that is still coach of the year level ability. I think it's a little unfair for them to drop this team from 10 wins purely because they lost 2 defensive 3-and-D wings for Carmelo Anthony. I understand that's a decline. I understand that's a decline, but I don't know if that's a 10-win decline. I think that they're probably closer to 57, 58, 59 wins. They're still going to be a top 3 seed in the Western Conference, and I think that they're going to be perfectly safe to move on.
It makes sense that they would still be hungry after what happened last year with Harden.
They should be more motivated.
They got to be thinking they could have won last year,
They should think
and that what held them back was an injury to Paul. So I don't see any reason why Harden and Paul aren't going to be really hungry. Obviously, I'm never going to root for a team to do well. It's got Carmelo on it, and but signing Capella and they're going to miss Ariza.
Yeah, they're going to miss
Ariza. Abamonte is that his, what's his name? The other guy they lost.
Yeah, Mbamute.
Yeah. They'll miss those
Just
guys.
a couple more. Do that. The middle tier of the Eastern Conference teams. We have the Pacers at 47.5. The Heat at 41.5, the Bucks at 46.5,
Wow.
and the 76ers at 54.5. Do you agree about Sixers being in a tier above those 3 in terms of wins by close to 8 wins, and then the Pacers, Bucks being neck and neck with them giving the edge to the Pacers, and then teams like the Heat, and there was one more team I wanted to list with that. What was it? There was where are the Wizards? The Wizards, 44.5 for the Wizards. So the Wizards ahead of the Heat. Do you agree about how they shook out that
batch
tier?
that you just gave me is tremendously accurate.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really think they're accurate, and
I think
for
the Bucks
each one individual go out and one after the other. I can talk about all those.
Okay,
So we got the divisions
the
we're going to be talking about. We might land on.
I think the Bucks are going to push 50 wins. So we can hold that off. I'll go back through. Tell me over or under for those. How about that? Pacers 47.5. Over or under?
Under.
Under. I agree. Under. Heat 41.5.
Under. I think that he.
Under. I agree. Bucks 46.5.
Over.
Over. I agree. Sixers 54.5. That's a tough one. I think this is the hardest one out of all of these.
I'll go over.
I think they're getting exactly 54.
Okay.
And
yeah,
then,
I know. But
and
I mean,
then
I think I was.
Wizards 44.5.
Under.
And then we'll spin the wheel. I'm thinking 50. I'm thinking under as well. I
That
don't think
was
there's
pretty
really
accurate. I thought those were really.
Yeah, they
pretty
didn't
good.
do a
I
bad job.
put those on
I understand where they
On
come
those,
from. Yeah, makes sense.
I thought the oddest one was Utah. What they got Utah?
Let's see, 48.5.
Okay.
Big total.
But what did I see last week when they ranked Utah number 3?
Utah number 3. Maybe it was something
Well,
else.
that's something else.
Let's just
Yeah, let's go to a division. Let's talk about something.
Southeast Division. All right, let's talk about some of these
Okay.
teams that we got here.
Okay.
The Southeast Division,
The worst division.
the worst division in all of basketball.
Oh my God!
Absolutely the worst
Should I
division
try to
in
put
all
an
of basketball.
all-star team together from that division?
This division is really bad. All right, so shaking out, we got on. Here's my shakeout in terms of I think who's going to win this division. This division ranked. I got Washington number 1, Miami number 2, Charlotte 3, Orlando 4, and Atlanta 5. Any problems with those?
I got them exactly the same.
Okay.
But I'm not in on any of those
Okay,
teams.
so I'm just going to rattle off some questions. How many teams make the playoffs from this division?
Wow, because it's in the East, I think you probably get 2.
2?
I think you get 2. 2 out of the 8.
I might go with a hot take and just say 1. I
It
might
be
say
just
Washington.
one.
I might say
I
Washington.
might agree with you that
But
Washington's got enough firepower.
But Miami
to get
has to have a path there, and I would think they're favored.
But we say about them every year, and they're treading water. And the thing I find best about that team is Spoelstra. I know you don't like Spoelstra as much as I do, but I mean, they're no different than they were last year. And eventually, I think
I
those
realized
players can't produce.
I put in record predictions next to the teams, and I realized based off of the record predictions I made, I would have Miami slotted in at 8, and I think that makes sense. I think that's
when you just
perfectly
look at the roster, and Kelly Olynyk might be a starter. I mean, he's a good player, but he,
Okay, yeah, so here's my next question.
Okay, go
How
ahead.
many players from these 5 teams are going to make the All-Star team? So recaps, we got John Wall, Bradley Beal. Miami, we got
Kemba Walker,
Dragic, and we got Kemba
Whiteside.
Walker. And then you got Aaron Gordon.
Gordon.
And then from Atlanta, John Collins. I don't know. How many of those guys making the All-Star team? 3 total, maybe?
I mean, Wall's a lock.
Is he? He could have a bad season.
He
Bradley
could.
Beal could be better than John Wall this upcoming season.
That's part of the problem with that
Right.
team. Obviously, Wall goes out injured. Beal, I love Beal. I don't like Wall. You got two different things happening in there right now in terms of players' perception of themselves. Wall is saying, "I'm going to be the MVP this year." The way he's saying it is that, "Screw the team. I'm going to be MVP."
Right.
Joel Embiid said I'm going to be MVP, but he's saying I'm going to be MVP
And we're
it's
gonna
going
be
to
the best
carry
team.
my
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
Because I'm MVP, it's going to carry my
He's
team.
saying the Sixers are gonna be the best team in the
I
league,
have
yeah.
a problem with John Wall, and I love Beal, but I think they're both all-stars.
I think
Kemba is too.
I was going to say, I think I might only pick 2 All-Stars from this entire
Okay, but it's hard to
division.
deny Gordon. I guess.
Aaron Gordon, I mean,
Yeah.
if he takes another jump, maybe. Okay, and then last question for this division, then we'll move on to a different division. Which young players, I'll do 2 more. Which young players excite you from this division in terms of rookies or second-year players?
Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba, you got Mo Bamba, and then Atlanta has a whole ton of them.
I love Collins.
Charlotte doesn't really have that many young players. They got Miles
No.
Bridges is the most
Miles
recently
Bridges,
drafted
and
player.
he's
He doesn't excite
possibly-
me. Doesn't excite me.
No,
Miami
he-
has a couple guys.
I don't see anything there.
We're thinking about Josh Richardson and Justice Winslow. Neither one of those guys move the needle too much. And then in
Washington's got
Washington,
nothing.
just drafted
They got
Troy
Jeff
Brown
Green.
and Kelly Oubre. So I
Yeah.
think basically, and then my next question was going to be, which team are you going to watch the most of next season?
Out of that division, oh my God, it's painful. It really is. I probably will be intrigued by Mo Bamba.
Yeah, okay.
And Steve Clifford coaching that
Okay,
team.
so you think you're
And with Gordon and Isaac.
So
and
your
Fournier.
answer is for those last 2 questions, which players most interest you, and obviously which team you're going to watch the most of, is the same answer, and it's the same for me, and my answer is Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch the most
Trae
Atlanta
Young.
because they got Trae Young
Yeah.
and because they got John
Collins,
Collins, and
yeah.
those 2 paired together is very watchable television, even if this team is probably going to finish off with the worst record in the NBA. I'm projecting them probably having 22 or 23 wins. I think that they're going to be absolutely miserable. Trae Young is going to have games where he goes 1 for 15 and has 6 turnovers, but he is also going to have 30-point games. So
Has Orlando got a
gonna be
point guard
interesting.
yet?
No, they're going to start DJ
What's with
Augustine
that?
and Jerry and Grant. They're
I
terrible.
mean, they could have really improved that team.
They had so many options. I don't know what he's doing.
They could have tried to get. I mean, somebody like Delhi would have helped them. I mean, oh my goodness.
So is Mo Bamba your surprise player to pay attention to for this division?
For this division?
Yeah.
I go with Collins too. I really expect
John
good
Collins.
things. And Jonathan Isaac, I think, has got some upside
Though
to him. But
I like-
as far as young players,
I like both
I
of
would
those
say
guys.
that's probably it. Yeah.
All right, let's move to the Central Division. A little bit more competitive, a little bit more exciting. This team is going to be right outside of the top 3 teams. Basically, they're going to determine who is going to be in this in the middle, probably in the 4-5 slot of the Eastern Conference. My Central Division ranked is Milwaukee Bucks, Indiana Pacers, Detroit Pistons, Chicago Bulls, and then last, very close to the Chicago Bulls, I have them 1 win apart, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I have the Bulls with 34 wins and the Cleveland Cavaliers with 33 wins. How
I'm a little
does your
different.
division?
I got the Pacers at 1, the Bucks at 2. I'm going with the Cavs at 3.
Okay.
The Pistons at 4, and the Bulls at 5.
So how many wins do you think that the Cavs and the Pistons respectively will be getting next year? Do you think both are going to be underneath 40?
I think they're going to be, I think they're going to go like,
Both like 38.
40 and 41, 39 and 42.
Okay.
I think.
You're up there on Cleveland then. You think they're going to win close to 40 games?
I really think Cleveland's guys have got a bad rap. I don't think they're bad players, and I think it's going to be freeing for them to actually be without LeBron, and
Right.
I don't think they're that bad.
Go back to the
That
point.
team, they're all. I got question marks all over this whole division.
I mean, to go back to what I was saying
they're all
before,
question marks.
I do think that to a degree, a lot of their players are bad, and when we see certain players, they have Lakers outcasts, the players that Lakers didn't want to be part of their young core anymore, with Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance. They have players that failed to rehab their value after not capitalizing on restricted free agents the year prior, and Rodney Hood and George Hill after making a big contract. He didn't live up to that deal. I mean, these players do have acumen around the league as better players than they showed last year, and you could say that's because of LeBron James. You could say it's because of an elevated level of pressure based off of having to perform at a finals level of ability. But I think overall, this team is going to depend a lot on the success of Colin Sexton, a young point guard, at their wing rotation of being Rodney Hood, Chetty Osman, and Sam Decker now, who they just brought in.
I like Sam Decker.
That's their wing rotation right now. That's scary to think about. I like Chetty, and I'm excited to watch Chetty's development, but that's a scary wing rotation to be going up against the Boston Wings, to be going up against Giannis, to even be going up against John Isaac and Aaron Gordon. Every rotation wing, that's going to be tough.
True.
And at the back helm of that, to have Kevin Love, who's their best player, and should have an all-star season next year, and his usage and his points and his output overall will increase. But it's going to be really interesting to see to what degree it does increase, and to how detrimental to that team's success his lack of defensive ability will be. Because I think this team is going to be a miserable defensive team. I do think that they are going to be more successful than they're being projected, but I still think that they're the worst team in this division.
The worst team in this division.
Worst team in this division. Only by 1 win.
Well, obviously, Ty Lue has got a lot to prove at this point. Now that finally is without, and whether he's got anything of substance as a coach at all. I don't hold that last year against these. That was very unique. I don't think I've ever seen, I can think of another thing where the team is favored to get to the finals with Golden State. It destructs. Then they rebuild the team in the middle of the season that's still favored to win the conference with a completely new team.
Very weird.
It puts a light on those players that I think was just really strange. They were coming from all the. So I think Clarkson's good. I think Nance is good.
So who's your second best player on this team after Kevin Love? Who's your second best player?
Probably in terms of value to the team, I probably look at a couple guys. I think George Hill is a decent player, and I think Tristan Thompson's a decent player. Tristan Thompson, he's won a championship. I think he can play. I think he can rebound. I think he can contribute.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think.
And get rid of JR.
I already mentioned. Yeah, exactly. I already mentioned.
I don't know where that's happening. We're not even talking about JR as being on the team.
I already mentioned how thin.
But I think Rodney Hood could be a good wing player. I mean, he
better hope so.
He was okay with Utah. I remember I predicted him last year to be the most improved player.
I know. It wasn't a bad prediction at the time.
And I don't know
he
whether,
just came out and fizzled.
And I don't know whether it's always going to stay with him that he refused to go in that game, and whether that's going to be something that's. But they didn't get rid of him. Has he signed yet, or is he still a free agent?
No, he's still up in the air. He'll probably be coming back on a short-term deal.
But he's your wing.
It's going to be interesting. This team is projecting to be losing a lot. I mean, they're trying to get J.R. Smith poached, which would probably help, but would thin up their rotation. That Kyle Korver is getting poached. Their wing rotation,
for
their wing
one
rotation
quarter.
is dwindling. Even
Yeah.
if they keep it as is, their big rotation has Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love, and then
Ziza.
outside of that is awful. And then their point guard rotation is George Hill, who, say what you want about him, but he's been rapidly declining in recent years.
Well, they got Sexton.
Colin Sexton, I love him.
I don't think Hill's been
And-
rapidly
and-
declining.
Yes,
I think he
has.
played badly last year with the.
Okay, we spoke about it for the Cavs. Let's
Okay.
talk about some other teams in
Yes.
this division. Why do you think so you have Chicago last,
Yeah,
correct?
I just think it's too much of a question. You know what I didn't like,
Tell me.
I'm leaning your way with it. I didn't like Jabari Parker. All his comments about defense just doesn't play in my game. It's not. Well, come on, what do you think this game is about? What do you think happens in the NBA? It's about scoring points. Stop looking at my defense. It doesn't matter whether I play defense. That's pretty much what he was saying.
Like you can
so
think
I
that,
don't
but
like
just
that.
don't say that. You can think that if that's the way you think about the
Yeah,
game.
really.
It's a little messed up, and I understand what he's saying. That
Yes.
offense does supersede defense. The best defender versus the best offensive player.
Right.
The offensive player is going to win out more often than not. And in offensive value matters more, but at the end of the day, it's half the game. Defense matters. Not as much, but close to as much. Players do get paid to play defense, contrary to his statements. And if you are so blatant and just anti-defense, that's going to be such a pariah on your personal image as a player. And I don't know what he's doing.
That's what's turned me against that team a lot. And plus, you got him and Levine both coming off those ACLs.
A lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks on that team.
Okay, what about?
No, I like
Right. What about Indiana versus Milwaukee? I think Milwaukee's an edge above because of without the Jabari Parker whole circus going in there and his health and how he'll fit in the rotation, and to fit him in, do we have to move Giannis to the 5 and all this issues, and then pairing with them getting out either, if not the worst, the second worst coaching rotation between Kidd and Prunty, bringing in a top top
good.
10-ish,
Excellent.
top 10-ish
Excellent
coach
coach.
and Coach
Very
Bud.
good coach.
I think that this team is bound for a jump. I don't think it's a big jump. I don't think it's a big jump, but I'm predicting 51 wins for this Milwaukee Bucks team.
I am wondering why you guys don't buy into why I don't like this team.
You don't like him just because I like Bledsoe. I feel like that's the only reason you
He's
don't
a
like him.
key player, Shay.
He's not a key player.
He's a point guard on the team.
So what?
So he's going to. So what on the point guard? You're going to say?
I think
that he's a key player on that team, and
I think
that they can't be good with him as a point guard. I don't think they can.
I think that you pay too much focus to negative playoff performance from the most recent playoff stint against
Whole
the Celtics.
season. Nah, that's not true. I mean, you go
The
all the
whole
way back
season,
to
he wasn't playing that poorly.
What did he do with Phoenix? I mean, he quit on the team.
He didn't quit
Shay.
on the team. Phoenix quit on him.
No,
Phoenix
how can
was
you say
benching.
that? How can you say that?
Because Phoenix
That's
was
not
benching
true.
him and Phoenix was
he
shopping him.
actually told
Phoenix
the team he doesn't want. I mean, they had to stop playing him because he pulled himself away from the team.
He was healthy. They shut him down because they wanted to lose games.
because of his attitude.
No, because they wanted to lose
No,
games. They
you're
were
wrong.
tanking.
Look that up.
They
It
were
was because of his
tanking.
attitude.
That's probably what they threw out
So
there.
you're not seeing what I see in Bledsoe. When Bledsoe, what I see,
I do think that his reputation as a player is higher than it should be. I don't think that he is.
He's not high with me.
But I'm saying overall, I do think that he gets a better rep than he deserves. But at the end of the day, he's a defensive bulldog on the regular season. In postseason performance, when he was with the Clippers earlier in his career, he performed well. When he was with the Bucks, he struggled. And those are the only sample sizes we have from his playoffs. I take both into account. Maybe more recently matters more because maybe his thought process has developed in a negative light since playing on the Phoenix Suns. But I think overall, he's an above average point guard who's defensively is strong. He's had several 6+ steals games in the previous season. He's overall a bulldog. He can defend 1 through 4 in certain situations. I don't love him. I'm not saying he's
a
top,
head case.
I'm not saying he's a
and
top
you don't
10
want a
point
head
guard,
case as your point guard. He's a head case.
But he's the third most important player on that
But he's
team.
got the ball.
Not
And
if
it's all-
Giannis wants the ball instead, not if Middleton
Well,
wants the ball instead. Last year and last playoffs, we saw a lot of offensive creation, a lot of bringing the ball up from both Middleton and from Giannis Antetokounmpo. We saw Giannis play point guard a lot.
And why?
Because
they lost confidence in Bledsoe.
No, because Bledsoe's style as a player isn't an offensive creator. It's an off-ball player who can contribute defensively. His strengths as a player aren't the playmaking pick-and-roll player. That's where Giannis can thrive, and that's where Chris Middleton as a playmaker has taken huge strides in recent years. I think Bledsoe, for what his role should be, I think he makes more sense under Coach Bud, who will be able to slot him into where he belongs and be less of a square peg and a round hole under Jason Kidd. I think next year coming forward, I think your image and your perspective on Bledsoe will increase because I think he's going to become marginalized.
Okay. All right. Well,
Indiana Pacers. What do you think about the
Indiana Pacers? I think what I see with the problem with them is I think we may have seen Oladipo peak, at least for time being.
Okay.
And what I'm seeing with him is that he's got this element. It's hard to say this because he's such a good player, but I think he's got this element of softness to his game and a mentality that's not tough enough to be the guy. I think they need another big-time player in addition to Oladipo before that team can take another step forward. As good as he is, I think he's a subordinate player and he's out of his element a little bit as the franchise player.
Okay. At the same time, you have them finishing with more wins than Milwaukee.
Because I'm down on Milwaukee. As much as I'm up on buttonholes, I think that division is going to be a 500 division.
Yeah.
And again, it's a lot of question marks in that division.
I'm very interested in Indiana moving to next year. Rumors around Oladipo's camp is that he's taken another step athletically, which is going to be interesting because that was one of his strongest traits last year. So I'm interested in terms of how he increased as a pick and roll ball handler and how he increased in terms of getting his teammates involved, especially with more creators around him now with Tyreke Evans and hopefully an increased skill level with another offseason under Miles Turner's belt. So I think this team should be impressive. I think they're going to be competitive. We saw in a playoff series that they took Cleveland and LeBron James to 7 because of how aggressive they played. And I'm hoping that they can carry that.
But the aggressiveness came from players that I don't know whether they're going to continue for. Thaddeus Young and
right. Well, I mean, he's still there.
Yeah,
like
I know.
I think that they will, and I think they will
I
play
love
rough.
Sabonis.
And I like a lot of their players as role players. I do think they need another player for them to take another step, but that's not their goal right now. Their goal is to make the playoffs and make as much noise as possible, and I think that they can do that.
They added players that actually I like. I like Aaron Howell. I like McDermott as a shooter. I like O'Quinn I
like O'Quinn too.
Enough, and certainly Tyreke Evans. But they're not that. I'd give them all for a frontline player that would be better than Oladipo to take that team forward.
Where do you think Oladipo stands in terms of the NBA landscape? Is he a top 15 player coming up here, or is he more of a top 25 player?
I think it's more the type of player that he is mentally, and I think I don't think he has the confidence that he needs to play against LeBron, to play against Kyrie.
Well, maybe moving forward this year,
lacks confidence there.
Maybe he surprised himself with that jump that he took last year, and maybe we're going to see the confidence coming into next year. All right, just give me a couple thoughts on the Detroit Pistons, and then we'll move to the Atlantic Division.
Blake didn't work, and
we don't know that yet.
Well, I didn't think it worked.
It was a small sample.
I was positive. Yeah, I guess, but I mean, you got the Blake Drummond. I don't think the Blake Drummond thing. I don't see that as a positive. I think what you're going to see there is Coach of the Year. Is really going to take.
You think Dwayne Casey isn't going to help them much?
I just think he's in a situation where he's going to have a losing record, and it's not going to show very good on him.
I think that their ceiling.
I mean, they got Jaja Pachulia and Ish Smith.
I think their ceiling.
Kennard might be their best young thing. That's not. I mean, I'm looking, I'm searching. I don't see it. I don't like Jackson. I don't like Reggie Jackson that much.
Dislike Reggie Jackson. Their ceiling is definitely like 41 and 41. Yeah. So we're going to see. I don't think it's going to work out. Real quick, we got to go soon. What do you have shaken out as your Atlantic rankings? I have Boston, Toronto, Philly, Brooklyn, New York.
There you go.
Same?
Yeah, I got the same thing.
Okay, we forget the top three guys. Which player interests you most out of Brooklyn and New York, and then we'll sign off.
What I like about Brooklyn is I think their bench is stronger than their first team. I think I think Napier and Harris and Ed Davis, Dinwiddie, LeVert, and Fareed.
That's a good bench.
That's a second team.
That's a good bench.
I think they're stronger than the first team. So that intrigues me on that. The Knicks. They got bad shooting. The only thing that really intrigues me there is Robinson. I like to see. I want to see what happens with him.
I'm excited to pay attention to Jared Allen on Brooklyn. I think he's here. He's in for a big year, and I think that on the Knicks, I think Mario Hezonja is someone you should pay attention to.
Yeah, that's good.
Next week we'll do a Western Conference preview and hopefully some more random things sprinkled in like we did today. But
it's always
for
fun.
Us at My Wheelhouse. It's all the time we got.
Okay.
Adios.
Won't you try just a little bit